With talks of jetpacks and wall running becoming a thing in Call of Duty again, returning in either future games or in the next couple of updates, they've found some wall running and boost jumping abilities in the code for Black Ops 6. There's some people I'll show on screen now showing the movement abilities. Combined with Omni movement could be pretty broken, and I have some opinions on this. There's some mixed reception to this idea that bringing jetpacks and Omni movement as a combination as well as wall running would create too much of a skill gap. There's some passionate arguments for and against, but before we get started, I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you think advanced movement like jetpacks, wall running, boost jumping, boost sliding should be in Call of Duty? Should it come back to Call of Duty? Should it be implemented into Warzone? Or is it too much? Would it be too crazy? This is nothing new in terms of movement options for Call of Duty. Back in the day from 2014, Advanced Warfare had jetpacks through some of their operators with exosuits. And there was 3 years in a row. So back in the day, 2014, Advanced Warfare. In 2015, Black Ops 3, which was, in my opinion, the smoothest implementation that they had of this advanced sort of movement. They had wall running. They had sort of like double jumping, boost jumping, and like boost slides. At the time, I really enjoyed it. And, even the year after, 2016 was Infinite Warfare, where they had jetpacks, boosts, and wall running again. Black Ops 3 was notoriously the best of the 3 years of this sort of futuristic titles of Call of Duty. They went in a direction where they wanted to try something new, and it was a move away from the typical boots on ground play style and just feeling of Call of Duty. For so many years, Call of Duty was always sort of based around older, World at War was the first one I really played, and that was, from World War I, World War II, and there was all these titles from, back in the day, sort of modern settings as well, Modern Warfare 1, Modern Warfare 2. And they sort of went this direction where they went futuristic and like very into the future, where they thought all this new technology that could be happening in the future, like advanced movement, could be insane. So there was some mixed reception at the time. A lot of people didn't enjoy it. They thought it was a move away from the typical Call of Duty gaming style. And I was on both sides of this. I wanted Call of Duty at the time to be boots on ground. I like that immersive feeling that you're in, in a war zone, especially in a campaign where it feels ultra realistic. There's guns flying, there's bullets flying at your head, and it just feels like you're entrenched in a war zone and taking you out of reality. But when it would go down that route of jetpacks and double jumping and boost sliding, and the operators became like robotic and very colorful and all that, I was definitely in the camp at the time where I didn't like it being in Call of Duty. I thought it was fun, and it definitely added something really good to the game. It added all these sorts of outplay abilities. So in multiplayer, which was pretty much the only modes at the time, you could really flank people holding down a lane, people holding an angle, and flank around. There was a lot of maps where you could go through the outside of the map to make a big flank. You could go under buildings and make all these different flanks, and it really opened up the opportunity to increase the skill gap, which was definitely fun. There was a lot of there's always campers in Call of Duty, but having that ability to outflank them, even outplay them, it was very hard for some people to track people boosting straight up in the air with their jetpacks while they're shooting at you to track them. A lot of people struggled with that, and it was good to outplay people who were frustrating you. Like I'd typically try to stay boots on ground until someone pissed me off and I'd have to flank them or do a couple of jumps to break their camping. Their camping spot was just too good at the time, and I needed to try something different. It really brought about different play styles. A lot of people were really good at it. A lot of people were very highly skilled, and became another thing to learn, another technique. Not everyone could master it. The most important part probably to that aspect of the game is the map designs. The multiplayer maps at the time were obviously designed with these techniques in mind. So there was a lot of places you could run across a long wall up to the other side of the map. Maybe if you didn't hit the wall jump, you would just fall to your death. So you really had to nail the wall jump, but it also had specific spots where it was you could only wall run at the time, and that was the only way you could get across the map. A lot of maps were very suited to that play style. There was a new game mode that came out at the time called Uplink. It was kind of like you had this orb or this sphere or a satellite that you had to move into, or push or throw into the direction of the zone, and while shooting people and fighting people, try and get this orb into the zone. And I remember it being on the map Fringe, which is coming in Black Ops 6. I think they're loading it into the next season. That was really fun. I vividly remember playing that uplink game mode on that map particularly, and having a lot of fun on that, because boost jumping and wall running with the orb in your hand, and putting it into the sphere, you got more points if you physically pushed it in there rather than through it. It was a really good game. It was a really good game mode, and very refreshing. Something new, something different. So I bought about a few different play styles, different game modes, and breathed a sort of like new lease of life into the game at the time. But I think 3 years on the running of these advanced movements, people were really calling for boots on ground. They were, I think, tired or fatigued of all these different advanced techniques, and they kind of want to get back to the core of Call of Duty. And I think since then there hasn't really been too much that would be jetpacks in COD. It would be considered jetpacks or double jumping or boosting or things like that. Maybe in Black Ops 4, where they had the grapple hooks in Blackout, potentially that could be considered something of that ilk. You find those in Fortnite too. Great ability to outplay, outflank, and get out of different situations that you might normally never would be able to get out of, which, if we're talking about BR now, bringing Omni movement combined with boost jumping, jetpacks, or wall running would really open up the map. So it's really interesting to see if it does come into the multiplayer scene. That would it be only in like particular maps? Would it be in the new Black Ops 7 game completely, just part of the whole game, and how that integrates into Warzone? And I think it might not be a good idea to integrate into Warzone. I would love it. I think right now I've definitely changed play styles and compared to the player I was back in 2015. But I think to bring it into Verdansk, I'm not sure how it would work. Would they be able to bring those mechanics like a wall run into every wall that you see in the game, or would it be particular walls that would have a certain line or an outline on there or a marking on there that you knew you could grab onto and run across? It would really open up the map. It would really be a death to campers in some ways. That would be very hard pressed, especially with zip lines going up buildings now, to hold angles and hold buildings when there is a lot of outplayability, and that's a skill gap I'm not sure COD would bring into Warzone. I think that the skill gap would be too large and cause too much of an uproar with the casual base. The people who continuously play Warzone now, we'd enjoy it, we'd love it. There would be something different, something refreshing to it. But a lot of the people who maybe only play casually, come to the game from time to time, or maybe in the lower skill bracket, probably wouldn't know how to utilize those skills, and might not even really enjoy it. They might get absolutely cooked by a team just completely flanking them in all sorts of crazy ways, jumping over their heads and just shooting them while they're up in the air. Would be insane to see. And if you get a full team of people who know what they're doing, you would almost have no chance. So it would kind of break the player base definitely into half of people who enjoy it and people who don't. And I don't feel like Call of Duty's in that headspace now where they want to cater to the sweats or the higher skilled players. I think they're definitely in a headspace where they want to cater to bringing more casuals back, more people back from the brink and playing other games, and potentially the lower skilled bracket. And that is also a question that we have to ask about the next few Call of Duty titles in terms of the multiplayer and how they will be interacting with Warzone. Will Warzone be the standalone, or are we going to have these big monumental shifts every time a new title is released? Will they be changing Warzone to suit? Obviously, with new guns coming into the game in different titles, we need those integrations. That's great. The only problem is when you go to games like Modern Warfare 2019, into the way other titles played, different movement, different systems, and then when we went to Warzone 2, where there was basically no movement and there was no fluidity, and it was very much a very hard to move around game, very standstill, very boots stuck in mud feeling game, because of that's how the multiplayer played. That sort of shift every title for Warzone is pretty hard to take, and I don't think, my personal opinion, it shouldn't be the direction Warzone takes. Warzone should be its own standalone game, which integrates maybe the new guns coming from newer titles. Take positives from each title and, you know, bring in different operators, different skins, and, you know, all the visual stuff that will come with it. But changing up the movement mechanics every single title, every single year, I think would be a shake-up in the most negative way. I don't think that's a shake-up that we really need. I think that's too drastic, and it would be nice to evolve things over time. So whilst we have Omni movement in Warzone now that maybe isn't the same feeling and same smoothness that you get in multiplayer, you know, we could evolve that over time, shift it, tweak it a little bit. And then if wall running and double jumping, boosting jetpacks, all that advanced movement comes into multiplayer, perhaps LTMs. I think LTMs, limited time modes, where you can experience all this crazy movement, kind of like we just had recently, the high art event, the LTM modes that come with that, where you could, it's sort of like you jump and you would float even higher than you normally would in a regular Warzone setting. It makes for more different flanks. Like you could jump into the second story window just without having to mantle 3 different things to get there. It would create all these different skill gaps, and it's very interesting for an LTM mode, and sort of gives people a taste of what they might be able to experience one day, and they gauge reactions off that. So hopefully they can collect enough data to say there's so many people enjoying these LTMs with these crazy movement techniques. You know, back in Verdansk when we had the Halloween event, and I think it was in Warzone 2 as well, where you become a zombie and all of a sudden you can skyrocket into the air, slam down on the ground, and, you know, outrun people. You have all these different movement things that you could do as a zombie for LTMs in the Halloween mode. Again, a lot of people had a lot of fun on those. Maybe get fatigued of that if they were to play that all day, every day for an entire year. But I'm sure there's enough data to suggest whether or not those sort of modes could be implemented in the long term, and which part of those modes people enjoy and not. I'm not sure how they gather that kind of information other than asking people and taking surveys. I'm interested to see who they're actually surveying and who they're asking, how they're collecting data of which aspects of the game people enjoy more than others, and whether they're taking it from a wide enough segment of the player base to really make a really accurate judgment. They've missed the mark very, very, very hard in Warzone 2 and a few other titles since then. They've kind of been clawing themselves back from extinction, basically. A lot of people would say Warzone was dying at the time. So I think that would bring, you know, all the advanced movement would be great. I think it'd be great for an LTM mode. I'm not sure about bringing it as a lifetime implementation to the game. I mean, personally, I would love to play with it. I just don't think for the overall picture, for the overall health of the game, for casuals and maybe lower skilled players who would make up the majority of the player base, I'm not sure they're enjoying that sort of gameplay. So for the good of the game, I would say it's best not to think of people who are watching YouTube, watching streams, following COD Twitter and all the rumors and all that. We're probably not the target audience. We're not the people who are the casuals. If you're pretty much engaging in Call of Duty content on YouTube, TikTok, you're probably less of a casual than the people Call of Duty's tailoring their games for and their content for, and even the skins for. We have a very verbal player base on the social media platforms, but that probably doesn't even make up the player base. And you've got to think, as a global game as well, a lot of non-English speaking countries, a lot of international countries from all over the world would have completely different takes and player bases and interests and things like that. So they're balancing not just the people that you see on Twitter, and they're not balancing just the content creators that you see, the big numbers and the big streamers and the big YouTubers. They've got to account for everybody. So the people who make up the social media content world are not, and not even the majority of people who play the game. Also, I know there's currently a lot of issues in the game, especially with cheaters in ranked particularly, but I've also run into cheaters in the casual mode. And you can see on the screen here now, I'm playing casual mode in Verdansk with a crossbow, just because why not? Just to have a bit of fun. And I think this is what Call of Duty's kind of missing. Personally, I think the crossbow should be buffed a little bit to make it a one-shot kill again, just like it was in previous titles. But I don't know how much you can do like fun, weird, random loadouts in regular BR, because you are forced to sweat because of skill-based matchmaking, which is why I think casual mode in particular, without any crazy movement, can be a lot of fun, and it's just a nice way to unwind and do something different. I would love to be able to run these kinds of guns in BR. Unfortunately, I'm not that high skilled enough. I would get absolutely slammed. But there are these kinds of gameplays that I'm hoping to bring to the channel. If there is something that you enjoy like this, let me know. If there's a weird random loadout, I would love to run it, even if it's only in casual mode, just to try it, have some fun, because essentially at the end of the day, what is gaming for if not fun? We're not here to compete 24/7. Why not enjoy all that the game has to offer and not just run meta loadouts every single day, for example? It is hard to fight the call for realism in the game. I get it, and a lot of people, that's why they hate particular operators. They hate the crazy collabs like the duck skin and like the Terminator skin, and just it's taken people out of thinking that they're a soldier in that. But for the sake of selling cosmetics, fun things like that, very exciting. And obviously the advanced movement like jetpacks, exoskeletons, wall running, not really the most realistic thing either, but I think that's a different level that goes beyond the cosmetic, and it goes into gameplay loop, which I think people would enjoy, but for the most part, it wouldn't be very widely accepted. It might be a fatal mistake to bring that kind of advanced movement in. We saw that they had to tone down Omni movement when they brought that in this Call of Duty title into Warzone. They had to slow it down a lot. And I think if you paired, there's some crazy clips out there with advanced movement and Omni movement combined. It looks absolutely crazy, being able to jump back, wall run while you're sliding, and proning sideways, flying through the air. As a combination, looks absolutely insane and honestly a lot of fun, but it would be super frustrating to be absolutely slammed by a team of people all very highly skilled in doing all these kinds of things. It would be very frustrating, but also, damn, in an LTM mode, I think it could be very insightful into how skilled some people are. And beyond any aimbot cheaters accusations, there are some very highly skilled streamers and content creators out there. To be able to string together sort of movement techniques like that would look absolutely crazy. And the way the movement system is now probably doesn't do them even enough justice as to how high skilled they are. Beyond being able to shoot straight, just the movement techniques, the timing and doing all that, I think would be super impressive. I would honestly love to see it. Maybe not play it for a full year or two, but definitely experience it for a short period of time in little bursts here and there. I think it'd be great. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a like, leave a comment on the video. Tell me what you think. Do you enjoy these kinds of videos of me just yapping over some random gameplay? Like I said, I've been trying to get some gameplay footage of randoms. I've got a double SMG loadout video on the channel. I've also got a few like double battle rifles, double shotguns, double launcher wins. That in casual mode, that I don't know if they're even fun to watch or if people don't really care about that kind of stuff. I'm not the highest skilled player, but doing things like this is a lot of fun for me. Getting a few gameplays of this is a ton of fun as well. But it does, even in casual mode, it does definitely get a little bit mixy towards the end zone, which is where we're going now. And fighting real people with real good guns, snipers, long range, can get very mixy. My teammates go down here and they get super frustrated. They think there's no more buys. I'll buy you back, don't cry. In the game, they they're asking to leave the game, I tell them to stop crying and I'll buy them back. They don't know there's a buy station still just outside of the zone, which we go. My first thought here is that I can get the car and push them into the zone. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. I was really just trying to avoid not getting killed. I was the only one left up, but we do end up having a jailbreak coming. So instead of buying them back, I just buy a loadout, pop a car near where they are probably going to land to get it, to give them a route back into the zone so they're not caught in the middle of the runway. I probably could have bought some more stuff here and made the end game a little bit easier myself. Maybe a self-res, maybe a UAV or an airstrike to try and get some knocks. But here we are, we're trying to get some high ground here. We know that there are players all around sniping, so it's going to be hard to fight them. There's players nearby, so I'm going up the ladder just to make sure that I can overlook my teammates getting the loadout, maybe help them out if I need to. I'm not really communicating with them too much. There is someone here. I wish this was a one-shot gun. That would be insane. I probably could have pushed off the back of that. I tried to ping to let my teammates know there's someone there, but they've probably played it up by now. Maybe even have multiple teammates in there. We choke this shot here, but we do get the knock. And I'm just trying to keep an eye out, looking. This top half of the roof will stay in zone in this end game, just for this last circle. So we still have a good spot here to look over the top. We smoke our teammates in case they need some cover, getting the res off. Someone's sniping from the outside of the airfield. This shot here I thought was great. Unfortunately, again, the crossbow's only a knock if you get a headshot. So even though I probably hit him in the chest or like mid-torso, it will crack them, won't be strong enough to burn them, but if you do hit them in the head, you will instantly break them, and then the flames will take them down. Kind of a shame. I think that could make the crossbow stronger. I don't see why not. But it does start to get a bit mixy here. I'm not sure where we're getting shot from. I feel like there's only the team behind us where you can see the red map ping, the pings on the red pings on the map. So we slide in, res a teammate. I think that on this bounty contract there are the two teams. Not sure where the last one is, so I'm just waiting, holding. I get that enemy nearby ping, and I just feel like they're just hiding in this building for a little bit too long. I'm not sure where my teammates are getting shot from, and all of a sudden we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, getting shot by two different teams, two different times. Wish my teammates knew where they were getting shot from so they could tell me, but unfortunately we cannot clutch our win in Warzone Casual. But that's all we can do with the crossbow at this point in time. We had a little 23, nothing worth flexing. I don't think there's any kill total worth flexing in casual mode. But if you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Let me know down in the comments what you think of Omni Movement paired with double jumping, boost jumping, and wall running, whether that be broken or whether it really should belong in the game as we go into 2025. Surely we've evolved from boots on ground only. Maybe we should be looking at more advanced techniques. But for now, that's the end of this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.